Lord of Mystery. The Return of the Stars Chapter 191-200. Backland, Earl Hall's home. Audrey returned from the gray fog and opened the door carefully. Susie, a golden retriever, was guarding the door carefully to prevent others from approaching suddenly. Audrey squatted down and rubbed Susie's head happily. "Susie, thank you for your help." "Woof, woof," Susie called a few times, and Audrey quickly understood what it wanted to express. She took it back to the room and closed the door. After doing all this, Audrey was stunned for a moment. When did she start to learn to understand Susie's dog language? "Audrey, why do you humans always like to touch your pet's head when you are happy?" "Maybe it's because it feels more comfortable," Susie retorted. "I read in the book that humans behave like this out of a desire to dominate. Humans like weak creatures because they are weak, and they have absolute dominance over them. So even if we are angry, you humans will only think we are being cute." Audrey didn't want to argue with Susie about these topics, otherwise in the end, she would always be influenced by Susie. "Susie, I am going to join the Psychological Alchemy Society. Tomorrow afternoon I will express my interest in psychology at the tea party." "Audrey, I also want to be promoted to Sequence 7 psychologist." Audrey fell silent. She originally wanted to keep training Susie so that she could keep being promoted with her. But now, she is a little hesitant. What if Susie is too smart in the future? She can't spend all her time reading books like it does. She will definitely lose to Susie in the knowledge competition in the future. "Audrey, you hesitated. Don't you want me to accompany you to a higher sequence? I think it's difficult to get 2 extraordinary potions of psychologists from the Psychological Alchemy Association. I don't want you to have too much hope." "Okay." Susie lowered her head, shrugged her ears, and was a little depressed. "But, Susie, you are my best friend. I will definitely find a way to get another extraordinary potion of psychologists." "Audrey, you are so nice." Susie shook her tail happily after sweeping away the loss just now. Audrey felt a little guilty and her cheeks were hot. She had learned to play tricks in the conversation with Susie just now, so that Susie would be more grateful to her. Audrey, is this the only way you can get the upper hand now?" Audrey thought about it and sincerely apologized to Susie for what happened just now. Susie said generously, "I know, I just deliberately cooperated with your performance." Audrey's eyes widened. She really had to consider whether to continue to help Susie to advance. At night, around 11 o'clock, Furs returned to her room, closed the doors and windows, covered herself with a blanket, and began to pray to the stars. The familiar starry sky appeared, and the room was full of light. Asta, who appeared with the Hall of Stars, sat high in the hall. Without saying a word, Furs told how she disguised her illness, how she prayed to the Fool in the middle of the night, and how she finally got into the Tarot Club. "You did a good job." Hearing that Furs had been disturbing the Fool's sleep at 3 or 4 in the middle of the night, Asta gave her a very good evaluation. "This is what I should do." Although Furs pretended to be very humble, the smile on her face could not be hidden. "What should I do next?" "Keep observing, I understand." Furs took on this task solemnly, with a heroic feeling of going to die generously. Asta did not remind her of her thoughts, so she let her continue to maintain this vigorous fighting spirit. "It's better than lying down all the way." After the starry sky dissipated, Furs was still immersed in the praise just now. This was the affirmation from the stars, and it was the due reward for his hard work. "You did a good job. You did a good job." In the Hall of Stars, Hasta ended his communication with Furs and did not leave the Hall of Stars immediately, but scanned the stars above his head as usual. Only the star where the high-dimensional observer was located showed a little abnormality. Originally, there was only him on the screen, but now there was another figure, Alger Wilson. They are currently on the Blue Revenge. Alger is so unfortunate. No wonder the codename Hanged Man is indeed a symbol of sacrifice. Strange, the sea is so vast. Why can the high-dimensional observer find Alger so accurately? Pure coincidence? Then Alger's luck is really bad. Asta just chose to watch and had no intention of intervening in this matter. This kind of thing should be left to Mr. Fool to worry about. Asta watched for a while and then left the Hall of Stars. The next day, Hasta was fully prepared. even asking Will to pay a little attention secretly, before going to the Employment and Service Association again. He asked the others to leave first, leaving Keys alone. In the room, Keys was not surprised at all that he was the winner among the 8 people. "Keys, why do you think I chose you?" Hasta asked his question. "Because I am the best among the 8 people. Anyone with vision will choose to hire me as this investigator." Keys looked calm and spoke with absolute confidence in himself. "Do you think you are a winner or a loser in life?" Facing Hasta's sudden turn of the question, Keys frowned slightly and said, "Winner, I consider myself a winner in life. I rarely experience failure." "Have you ever come into contact with a mysterious organization that likes to wear yellow clothes?" "Been touched? What do you think of that organization?" "Those are the most noble monks I have ever seen in my life. They have the same goal of moving forward." "Are you also a member of that organization?" Keys was silent for a while, and then looked at Hasta with a strange look. "You are really different." "You still have not answered my question." "Yes, I am also a member of this organization." This time it was Hasta's turn to be curious. Why did Keys answer all his questions without any hidden thoughts? "Are you pure of heart, or do you disdain lying?" After thinking for a moment, Hasta asked again, "Why did you come to participate in this application? A winner in life is outstanding as you doesn't need to earn this little gold pound at all." "Because I accepted a task from the organization, and the task requires me to come to this job fair and complete your commission." "Oh, organizing a task, does the task require you to be honest and forthright?" "Yes, no deception is allowed." Hasta became more and more curious. The monks in yellow sent such a person to see him and did not allow him to lie. Are they really afraid that he would ask everything about them? "Which god does your organization believe in?" "Not sure." "Have you never come into contact with an oracle?" "I am not sure." "How many people are there in your organization?" "I am not sure." "Who is your boss?" "I don't have a boss." "Who is the person responsible for maintaining the entire organization on a daily basis?" "I am not sure." Only then did Asta understand that the monks in yellow sent this Tai Han and did not allow him to lie. It turned out to be because he knew too little about things and basically didn't know anything about it. "When did you join this organization?" "It's March this year, less than half a year." "Are you loyal to this organization?" "Nothing to mention. I'm only here for the reward of the mission." In this regard, Asta can only say 6 things. Apart from this, there is no other suitable evaluation. What is the mission reward? The magic potion formula for promotion to Sequence 4. What is Sequence 4 of this extraordinary path called? Priest. What about higher sequences? I am not sure. Hasta was silent for a while, then continued to ask many questions, and Keys answered them all. But when it comes to the real secrets of the Yellow Monk organization, he doesn't know anything about it. The most common answer is, "I don't know." In the end, Hasta decided to hire Keys to go to South Wales to investigate Viscount Abel's land. "I will definitely complete my mission and return." After Keys expressed his determination, he set off directly from Backland and headed for South Wales. In the process, Keys didn't even ask about the reward for this mission. It can be seen that what he cares about is not Hasta's meager gold pounds, but to obtain mission rewards within the organization. The Yellow Monks are such a strange organization. Hasta thought for a long time and could only give the evaluation of weird. Brave Bar. Leonard has been here for 3 consecutive nights, but he has not met Miss Serafina every time, and he has not even met Asta. If he did not believe in Asta's character, he would even think that Asta and Serafina eloped secretly without telling him. Ha ha ha, so funny. He has become the anxious and worried look he is now. At 11 o'clock in the evening, Leonard ended this disappointing day again. He sighed and left the Brave Bar. He walked aimlessly on one side of the street, his eyes passing by one shop after another. As for the passers-by, he has no intention to look at them now, so as not to be moved by the scene and add to his sadness. Until now, he was shocked to realize that he knew very little about Miss Serafina, and he didn't even know where she lived. If he wanted to meet her, he could only come to the Brave Bar to try his luck. Apart from that, he had no other way to find her. "Old man, am I almost hopeless?" Leonard, who was full of thoughts and no one knew, could only lower his voice and talk to the old man living in his body. Don't worry, you will meet her again soon. I know you are just comforting me. Oh, she will come to you by herself. Really? If you don't believe it, why bother asking for my opinion? It's not that I don't believe it, but I dare not believe it. Maybe she has already forgotten me. Don't you always think you are very masculine? Leonard was silent after being ridiculed by this sentence, and stopped chatting with the old man to make trouble. After walking aimlessly on the street for more than 10 minutes, a familiar figure suddenly appeared in front of him. She was still wearing that particularly unique black dress. Even in the dark street, Leonard could recognize her figure at first sight. Miss Serafina. Leonard was shocked and walked up to her quickly. Serafina stood quietly in place, waiting for Leonard's arrival. Her eyes were not as clear as before, but a little cold. Last time, she suffered a little loss from Hasta Campbell, and this time it was just right for his good friend to make up for it. Since you want to experience love, how can you miss the bitterness of love? The flower of love nourished by pain is the most beautiful. Serafina, I thought you didn't want to see me anymore. Leonard's breathing was rapid, his eyes were red, and he looked at a loss. Serafina didn't say anything, just looked at him with the same affectionate eyes, and then reached out to wipe the sweat from his forehead. The gentle and warm action turned Leonard's full of pain and depression into sweet spring water, which was now flowing to every inch of his body. Every cell seemed to be nourished and began to cheer. Serafina. Leonard called this name in his most gentle voice. Serafina gently touched his lips with her right index finger, indicating that he didn't need to say anything, she understood it all. Serafina. Every inch of Leonard's heart was calling this name. No need to speak, no need to think, let her lead him forward. When Leonard gradually regained consciousness, he found that he had come from the street to a room with ambiguous adult decoration style. In the dim light, Serafina stood in front of a full-length mirror, seeming to be admiring her beautiful face. At this time, the atmosphere has been set here. No matter how stupid Leonard was, he knew what he should do at this moment. Silence is better than words. He walked slowly behind Serafina, and when he was about to stretch out his hands to hug Serafina's slender waist in front of him, a teasing voice suddenly sounded in his heart. The person you want to hug now is a witch. Leonard's body suddenly froze, and his outstretched hands also stopped in midair. The ripples in his heart were now frozen by the cold current. And she is not an ordinary witch, but an immortal witch who has lived for at least thousands of years. Leonard's eyes were stagnant, as if he had lost all his vitality. A witch who is at least 1,000 years old? An immortal witch? He didn't know where the immortal witch was in the witch's path, but he knew that she was definitely not someone he could mess with. If you don't want to be drained by this immortal witch, try your best to escape from her. Leonard no longer cared to criticize the old man for telling the truth until now. He was now sober. Yes, it's only been a few days. He was originally a wanderer who was used to wandering freely, but suddenly met his beloved. He even really considered getting married and settling down for her. There is no other possibility except being enchanted. Leonard's face turned pale, his expression was complicated, and he took a step back slightly. What's wrong? Serafina, who was admiring her beauty in front of the mirror, noticed Leonard's little action and asked in confusion. It's okay, I just think you are very suitable to stand at a distance to admire now. Leonard smiled, looked at you, stepped back, and slowly moved towards the door. I find it best to admire you at this distance. After Leonard finished his last compliment, he was ready to pull the door handle and run away. But no matter how hard he pulled the door handle, the closed door could not be opened. What are you doing? Serafina still did not turn around. Her innocent tone sounded very harsh to Leonard at this moment. It was a bit stuffy in the room, so I thought about opening the door to get some fresh air. Leonard came up with another blunt excuse. Open the door and let people admire it? How can you have such a weird habit? Leonard was speechless for a moment, and wanted to open the door and run away quickly. But the door seemed to be against him. No matter how hard he tried, the door did not move. Is it really that hot? Serafina's pleasant voice came. Hot, very hot. Leonard's forehead and temples on both sides cooperated with cold sweat. If it's very hot, why don't you take off your clothes? As she said that, Serafina gently unbuttoned the dark coat on her body. Taking advantage of this gap, Leonard pulled the door handle with both hands, trying to seize this rare opportunity, but still couldn't open the door. Can't open the door? Yes. Do you need my help? If you are willing to help. Before Leonard finished speaking, he felt a cool breeze on the back of his neck. He knew that Serafina had walked behind him, and his whole body froze instantly. At this time, he had completely understood that his intention to escape had long been seen through, and Serafina had been teasing him before. Your forced posture is wrong, you should use this posture. Serafina came up from behind, reached out from behind and grabbed Leonard's hands and rubbed them on the door handle. Leonard pretended to be calm and said, "You don't seem to be able to open the door, right?" "Yes, I am only good at opening other people's hearts." Serafina's fingers went from the back of Leonard's hand along his arm, a little bit up, and then deviated a little, touching Leonard's heart. "I heard from others that witches like to maintain their youthful looks by eating young people's hearts." Serafina's words seemed to have a hidden meaning. Leonard, who was already stiff and unable to move, said with a serious face, "Don't talk nonsense. Witches are all very kind people. They are willing to help others and are unwilling to kill, let alone do terrible and disgusting things like eating human hearts. Are witches really that good? Of course. Then why are you in a hurry to run?" "I didn't want to run, I just wanted to open the door for ventilation." "You are not honest at all." Leonard felt that he couldn't talk any more that day. He frantically called for the old man's help in his heart, but the old man seemed to put his ears in the deep valley on the witch's chest and didn't respond to his calls at all. What will a man do when he sees a beautiful woman who has taken off all the clothes? Serafina's right index finger has pierced the epidermis at Leonard's heart and continued to extend inside. "Of course, I took out some clothes for that woman to wear, and warned her not to take off her clothes in front of men. Otherwise she wouldn't be able to wear them when she wanted to." Into the dream, at the end, Leonard yelled, trying to force Serafina into the dream, but unfortunately he failed. Serafina leaned her head on Leonard's shoulder, her face full of smiles. "I can't have you in my dream." "None of my business." Leonard's forehead was bulging with veins, and he hit back hard with his right elbow. What he didn't expect was that his powerful elbow actually hit Serafina's pretty face, and she took a half step back in pain. Leonard would not miss such a good opportunity, and tried to pull the door again. This time, the door was opened as he wished, and he rushed out and closed the door again. In the room, Serafina was full of confusion and fear. Just a moment ago, all her extraordinary abilities were ineffective, as if they were stolen. On the street late at night, as soon as Leonard left the room, he quickly started running wildly. At this moment, he truly understood the true meaning of freedom. It turns out that having the right to say no is true freedom. "I don't know what time it is late at night. It's hard to see any pedestrians on the streets. I can only occasionally catch a glimpse of homeless people asking for warmth." After running a long distance, Leonard regained his composure and started running in the direction of the nearest Harvest Church. Only by escaping to a place covered by the power of the church can he truly be out of danger. The Harvest Church is located in the South District of the Bridge, adjacent to the Backland Bridge District. It is currently the place where he can find support the fastest. Leonard didn't know how long he ran. It wasn't until he came to the gate of Harvest Church out of breath and his legs were weak that he finally breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know why Serafina didn't catch up. What he wanted to do most right now was to go to the bathroom to clean himself up in a mess, then lie on the bed and pull the quilt over to cover himself who had no face to see anyone. When the affable, burly priest of Harvest Church asked him why he was here late at night, Leonard forced a smile on his face and said, "Because of love." The next day, until the sun was shining in the sky, Leonard stopped a carriage and returned to St. Samuel's Church in the North District. As soon as he arrived at the church, he was given a few words of reprimand by his captain, telling him not to be late for work again because of drinking. "Not anymore, never again." Leonard shook his head and almost raised his hands to swear. After all, he still didn't tell the captain about his heart-to-heart talk with a witch last night. When he could rest, he returned to his room. The first thing he did was hide in the bathroom for more than an hour. Then he lay down on the bed and pulled the quilt to cover his head. Haha, do you know now that you have no face to see people? Deep in his heart, the old man's gloating voice sounded on time. Leonard was so ashamed that his cheeks were hot. He really wanted to find a small crack in the ground and crawl into it. That's an immortal witch. You didn't rise to the challenge. You simply failed to live up to my expectations. Leonard wanted to retort. If you hadn't suddenly revealed Seraphina's true identity, he might still be immersed in the taste of a witch. But such a rebuttal would only make him more embarrassed. Accepting criticism and ridicule silently is the most suitable for you now. After a while, after the old man's ridicule and cheerful laughter stopped, Leonard, who adjusted his mentality, finally asked, "Old man, since you already knew Seraphina's true identity, why didn't you remind me earlier? Isn't a wonderful encounter with a witch also a wonderful poem? You clearly want to see me make a fool of myself on purpose." Okay, then what? How could you end up in this situation if you didn't take offense to others' sexual intercourse? Leonard was speechless and thought of many excuses. But he still couldn't get around that it was because of Seraphina's beauty that he lost his usual calm judgment. Even if the other party is not a witch, with a personality like his own, sooner or later he will stumble into something like this. Your friend Hasta is smarter than you at this point. Asta? Is he so good at this? Leonard felt a lot of pressure. The voice deep in his heart disappeared, and he did not continue to talk about this topic. Well, Leonard lifted the quilt and sighed heavily. He found that whenever he closed his eyes now, the scene of his heart being dug out by Seraphina would appear in his mind. What's even worse is that Seraphina, who is doing such a cruel thing, is still so beautiful, even though she is chewing her own heart, and her lips are covered with blood that just spurted out from her heart and blood vessels. She still has a breathtaking beauty. How should I reply? In the study, Hasta sat in front of the desk, with a piece of letter paper on his right hand. This is a banquet invitation from Mrs. Germani. Originally, Hasta had always refused invitations to such banquets outright. Especially since I had just witnessed the chaos of Mrs. Germani's family last time, I didn't want to attend this banquet even more. But this time, Mrs. Germani wrote a lot in the letter, and she was sincere, saying that she wanted to explain to her face-to-face what happened that night. Hasta didn't care about this. It is also believed that if Asta does not come to the banquet this time, she will come directly to visit. If you avoid seeing her, she will come every day. This is a useful threat. But he still doesn't plan to go to the banquet. If Mrs. Germani really doesn't care about face and keeps coming to visit, he can temporarily go to the suburban manor to relax. I just happened to take the hound trained by Grey Lint to see its actual hunting ability and whether it could catch the eye of Earl Hall. After thinking for a while, Asta began to write on the letter paper. I originally thought that Mrs. Germani was a person with a very moral bottom line, different from other aristocratic ladies who only knew how to pursue love and carnality. I didn't expect that you are gradually turning into a hateful woman. Even across the letter, your desires, your greed, and your imperfect image are clearly visible on the paper. I hope you can abandon your useless fantasies and actively embrace a new life. Asta wrote a few more long lines at the end. This was the longest reply he had ever written to Lady Germani. Asta had butler Neil ask someone to deliver the letter to Lady Germani, and then he put the matter behind him. Now, he had a strong desire to write with a pen in hand, and he also wrote The Adventures of Pinocchio, that Miss Sharon liked to read. After writing 8 or 9 pages of paper and writing twice, Asta stopped writing, put away the story draft, and then took out a new stack of white paper. He was going to forge another batch of Russell diaries to sell to Audrey. Recently, Audrey didn't seem to have much success in finding Russell diaries. She had asked him twice if there were any new Russell diaries here, and hinted that she would raise the purchase price. Although Asta already had a lot of wealth, after buying Viscount Abel's land last time, he didn't have much money left. He just needs to make some money to enrich his own coffers. Anyway, he has basically reached the point of perfection in imitating Russell's diary. Except for Russell himself, outsiders can no longer distinguish the authenticity. For Russell's diary, which only needs to be used to make money, Asta can completely ignore the knowledge density of the content. On a piece of paper, you can write down Russell's 4 romantic affairs, plus a little knowledge of mysticism. Except for the useful knowledge of mysticism, the other contents are formatted descriptions. The specific format is as follows: what month and what day, which noble lady, back garden, and subsequent evaluation. It is a very simple and clear diary format. Of course, in addition to the love affairs of the noble lady, Asta is also very kind to prepare some other small desserts for Roussel. For example, the greed of a certain fat-bellied nobleman for him, the temptation from the witch, the explosive performance of the song and dance troupe, the people who witnessed the first scene, etc. Anyway, it is probably these few categories. Asta tries to change the style to avoid making Roussel's private life too monotonous and boring. As for the source of the revealed mystical knowledge, Mr. Men, Zaradul, the Dusk Hermits, the clergy of the Steam Church, etc. can perform for free. Since the nearly formulaic format of Roussel's diary, Asta has become more relaxed and casual in imitating Roussel's diary. About an hour later, Asta shook his slightly sore arms and looked at the 20 or so Roussel diaries on the table with satisfaction. According to the price he sold to Audrey, these Roussel diaries can earn him thousands of gold pounds. Earning thousands of gold pounds an hour, tens of thousands of gold pounds a day. He has almost realized his dream of making a fortune. As for Roussel, whose reputation was affected, and Mr. Fool, who was polluted by this knowledge, Asta selectively ignored their feelings. After all, the bright gold pounds were enough to temporarily blind his eyes. Thank you for the precious treasure left by Emperor Roussel. Thank you Mr. Fool for your pursuit of Roussel's diary. Thank you Miss Audrey for her generosity and her good financial situation now. Asta thanked silently in his heart, and then put the 20 or so Roussel diaries separately into the drawer. Now, he only needs to wait for Audrey to come to buy them, and he can earn a lot of labor fees. Knowledge is wealth. Asta sighed, got up and left the study, went to the room next door, and picked up Azishara, who was ready to pounce. Azishara, have you been greedy again recently? Meow. It's good that you admit it. You don't have any objection to having the cat food at night? Meow. Okay, I know you don't have any objection, so we will happily implement this decision in the future. Meow. You said you firmly support the decision to have the cat food? Azishara. You're getting more and more righteous, and you know how to save money for the family. Meow. Azishara finally made only a weak meow. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. West End, William Street, where the Nighthawks are located. Okay Captain, I will complete this mission. In the captain's office, Klein took on his first real mission in Backland. Visit a nearby nursing home to investigate an incident that may have unusual elements. Specific task content. There was a couple who were originally retiring in a nursing home, but just a few days ago, the couple suddenly lost their eyes and became blind. At the same time, the eyes of other nursing staff living with them also showed varying degrees of alienation. The information given above does not mention in detail the phenomena of eye alienation. I just felt that extraordinary Yin Su might be involved, and he needed to go and help investigate. The first time Klein accepted the task, he retrieved specific information about the couple from the database. Sheriff Reed and his wife. Chief Reed was originally a sergeant at the West District Police Department. Just over a month ago, a gas pipeline exploded in their home, causing a major fire. Their only son died in the fire, and they became insane and were sent to a nursing home. This is the official explanation given to the outside world. As the Nighthawk, Klein came into contact with another piece of information. Sheriff Reed's newborn son, who was not yet a full month old, was the son of the evil god. Before a major accident was about to occur, the Church of Storms teamed up with the Church of the Goddess of Night and the Church of Steam and Machinery to deal with the son of the evil god first and avoid the spread of harm. In this accident, disasters occurred all over Backland, hundreds of people died, and the area near Sheriff Reed's home was turned into a mess. Their son, the heir of evil god, died of natural causes in the accident. Sheriff Reed and his wife were not completely insane, they were just grieving over the death of their son. Considering that Sheriff Reed and his wife had lived with the descendants of the evil god for a long time and might have been infected, Church personnel decided to send them to a nursing home for observation. This should have been the best choice, but just a few days ago, Sheriff Reed and his wife lost their eyesight, and the people living around the nursing home were also affected by unknown things. Only then did the church issue a mission to send out extraordinary people to investigate. Klein is one of the two people selected by the Church of the Night this time, the other is Leonard. The Church of Storms and the Church of Steam and Machinery each sent in Beander to participate in this investigation. When Klein saw this, he knew why he and Leonard were sent on this mission, and he was also asked to be the person in charge of this mission. When they were in Tingen, they had jointly encountered the incident of the evil god's descendants. This task was indeed suitable for the two of them to complete. For the sake of safety, Klein also took a closer look at the life of Sheriff Reed and the experiences that took place before and after the incident with the children of the evil god. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Klein had arrived at the nursing home. After waiting for almost half an hour, Leonard and two other extraordinary people also arrived one after another. Klein said hello to them and became a little familiar with each other. "Leonard, haven't you had a good rest lately?" Klein's sudden question made Leonard stay on the spot for a moment. Even if there is no other meaning in Klein's gaze, his cheeks will get hot when he looks at this gaze, and he instinctively wants to avoid this gaze. Feeling ashamed and flustered was his biggest feeling at the moment. Fortunately, Klein didn't know about his romance with Serafina some time ago, nor did he know that Serafina was a witch, which kept him from being completely socialized. "Are you feeling restless? Have you encountered anything recently?" Klein continued to ask. "The training intensity has been a bit intense recently, and I haven't been able to sleep well at night." Leonard gave an excuse and urged Klein and others to quickly go together to investigate Sheriff Reed and his wife. Klein did not act rashly, but first went to the director of the nursing home to get a piece of information, then asked Leonard and others to ask other people first, and finally went to face Sheriff Reed and his wife. This information records in detail all the daily activities of Sheriff Reed and his wife when they entered the nursing home. At first, the two often cried silently, grieving for their son who had not yet grown up. Painful and silent, this is a true portrayal of their period. But just 7 days ago, Sheriff Reed and his wife began to talk to themselves intermittently. At first, the staff didn't take it seriously, thinking that Sheriff Reed and his wife were hallucinating because they were too sad. But 4 days ago, Sheriff Reed and his wife lost sight in both eyes at the same time, and other nursing home residents also experienced different eye abnormalities. Only then did the staff notice that Chief Reed and his wife were talking to themselves almost like crazy. "Our child is not going to die, he is alive and well. Yes, I also saw that our child has grown up. He is now on the sea, talking grand words about conquering the sea. Yes, our baby has grown up and we will definitely be able to see him again and hold him like we did when we were little. Child, when will our child come back? When it's time to come back, he will come back. What would be a more appropriate name for our child? Baron Hasta Campbell has promised me to give our child a suitable name, and I have been looking forward to this day. He's so nice. Yes, he has always been kind and took good care of us. Without his help, our child would not even have a chance to be born. He hasn't seen our child yet, has he? It's okay if he missed it. We will have the opportunity to hold the child in front of him in the future and let him see how cute our child is. He's going to love it as much as we love this kid." Klein read all these crazy soliloquies. If there are really extraordinary factors affecting this matter, then the so-called crazy talk may hide important clues. In this regard, Klein has always been vigilant. After Klein finished reading this information, the other two Beyonders who were out on business came back to join him. Leonard did not show up, which gave Klein the illusion that he seemed to be deliberately avoiding him. "We have investigated clearly. The other people with abnormal eyes are all after the Chief Reed and his wife. Those people's eyes are obviously affected by some mysterious force. Is this an infection? Possible." Then the two extraordinaries began to introduce the abnormalities in those people's eyes. Someone's eyes turned into vertical pupils, claiming that he could see the future. He kept saying that he had seen our arrival last night, and that there were 5 of us in the group. Someone's eyes were narrowed into thin slits. He said that his eyes could see the scenery thousands of miles away, and he introduced us to the situation on the seaside in a matter-of-fact way. Many people's eyes have changed color, and there are all kinds of strange eyes, such as red eyes, white eyes, blue eyes, purple eyes. It's really colorful and colorful. There are also some people whose eyes mutate into the eyes of various animals, and the whole person's behavior and temperament gradually come closer to the animal nature of the transformed animal eyes. It is not yet certain that the source of the infection is Sheriff Reed and his wife. Apart from being blind and liking to talk to themselves, they have no special symptoms and their spirits seem to be normal. Klein listened silently, feeling that this extraordinary incident had a bit of a big impact. So many people are experiencing abnormalities, and we don't know what strange events will happen in the future. Let's go meet Sheriff Reed and his wife. Klein made a decision and led the two Beyonders to the small courtyard where Sheriff Reed and his wife lived alone. Since the abnormality occurred, nursing home staff separated Sheriff Reed and his wife from other people as soon as possible. Near a cluster of flowers, Sheriff Reed and his wife closed their eyes, supported each other, and seemed to be whispering something at the moment. Klein did not let anyone disturb him. Instead, he deliberately lowered his footsteps, walked slowly not far from Sheriff Reed and his wife, and listened carefully to the whispers in their mouths. Someone is here again. What do they want to do? I don't know. We are just blind people. Our lives are only darkness. What the world is like has nothing to do with us. Are our children also living in darkness? I don't know. It's hard for me to see him all the time. I can only see him if he wants to. It's okay, he's still young now, and he won't be so petty in the future. Well, let's go look in the mirror. I like to look at myself in the mirror more and more now. But aren't we blind? Yes, only blind people are suitable for looking in the mirror. Listening to these chaotic and logical words, Klein already had a rough idea of the current mental state of Chief Reed and his wife. Crazy is not necessarily crazy. Maybe they lose the light in their eyes and really see something. There is no shortage of such examples in the extraordinary world. If Sheriff Reed and his wife are really the source of this extraordinary incident in the nursing home, then in-depth contact and communication are inevitable. Klein slowly walked up to Chief Reed and his wife and said politely, "Chief Reed, I have some questions to ask you. Are you free now?" "What are you asking?" Chief Reed stopped and closed his eyes tightly, making it impossible to peer into their true thoughts through the eyes, which are the windows to the soul. "I wonder what your children look like now." Klein thought for a while and decided to start with children as a breakthrough. From the information he had read before, children were the weakest place in the hearts of Sheriff Reed and his wife. If they are really affected by extraordinary power, then it must be because of the existence of the gap in the child's mind. That child is the origin of all these things. What do you want to do? Sheriff Reed's face was stern and alert. "We want to help you find your child." Klein quickly thought of a suitable reason and said in a gentle tone, "Since you think your child is still alive, we are willing to believe that he is still alive and help your family reunite. This is the original intention of our coming here today." A Beyander next to him also said, "It is so painful for relatives to be separated from each other. You have already suffered a lot of pain and should not suffer this torture again." Sheriff Reed just had a cold face and snorted, "I will not believe your words. You must want to harm my child." No matter how Klein and others explained, no matter how gently they spoke, Sheriff Reed refused to reveal a word. They wanted to use Sheriff Reed's wife as a breakthrough, but were interrupted by Sheriff Reed first. With a cold face, he refused to say a word to them. Perhaps the nightmare can peek into the relevant information from Sheriff Reed's dream world. Klein had a countermeasure in his mind, but he felt that this method was too dangerous. If some of the power of the offspring of the evil god still remains in Sheriff Reed's body, then the person who enters the dream will be in terrible danger. But there is no other way. Klein does not want Leonard to take this risk. After thinking about it, Klein asked someone to find the deputy dean who usually treats Sheriff Reed and his wife well, hoping to slowly dissolve Sheriff Reed's vigilance against them through this relationship. "Unless you find Baron Hasta Campbell, I only believe him, and I won't believe anyone else." Sheriff Reed gave the solution after giving in. "Baron Hasta Campbell?" Klein searched in his mind and finally found relevant information about him. According to the records, before the birth of the offspring of the evil god, Sheriff Reed's wife almost couldn't give birth to a child because of her own problems. It was Baron Hasta Campbell, who had some relationship with Sheriff Reed, who sent his own doctor and even took the initiative to visit Sheriff Reed's home. After this treatment, Sheriff Reed's wife successfully gave birth to her own child, the offspring of the evil god. For Klein, who had experienced the Tingen incident, the appearance and help of Baron Hasta Campbell seemed too coincidental, and there might be something wrong. Moreover, this Hasta Campbell was not only trusted by Sheriff Reed, but also promised to give the child a new name. From this point of view, Baron Hasta Campbell's suspicion was much greater. At present, Sheriff Reed made such a request again. Perhaps he wanted to take this opportunity to exchange some information with Baron Hasta Campbell. Although he had not met him yet, Klein had already listed Baron Hasta Campbell as a suspect candidate in his mind. "What, you are going to ask Hasta to come and help?" Leonard, who came to join later, was shocked when he heard Klein's arrangement. The person he least wanted to meet now was Hasta, and he had to wait for at least a month. For this reason, he didn't dare to go to the Brave Bar recently. "Leonard, do you know this Baron Hasta Campbell?" Leonard was silent for a while before he slowly spoke. "I do know this Baron Hasta Campbell. Many things happened between us. I am not suitable for this mission. I even have to avoid him to avoid affecting this mission because of our relationship." With these words, Leonard blocked Klein from giving him the task of inviting people. "Then I will go." The Extraordinary of the Church of Steam and Machinery agreed to this matter. "Okay." Klein agreed to this request, and then the group stayed in the nursing home to rest and check the relevant information about Sheriff Reed and Hasta. I finally got through this level temporarily." After hearing Klein's arrangement, Leonard finally breathed a sigh of relief, and wondered in his heart whether he should find a reason to leave the nursing home first to avoid running into Hasta. "Leonard, come on, tell us what kind of person Baron Hasta Campbell is." Leonard once again experienced what a surprise is. Sheriff Reed? Hasta received the extraordinary person of the Church of Steam and Machinery accompanied by 2 police officers in the lobby on the first floor. When he heard that the other party came to him because of Sheriff Reed, his first reaction was to refuse. The high-dimensional overlooker is still active. He is now leading Algierd to sweep those unlucky pirates on the sea and continuously strengthen the strength of the Blue Revenge. Although it is far away from Backland, if he wants, one day is enough to reach Backland. Hasta did not want to have too deep contact with Sheriff Reed. As soon as they met, Sheriff Reed would definitely ask him to give the high-dimensional overlooker a suitable name. If there is this connection, the high-dimensional overlooker will definitely notice him. "Sorry, I don't have time to go out for the time being." Hasta chose to decline. He could only decline, and could not refuse forcefully. After all, as a nobleman with no bad record, it was a responsibility to cooperate with the police. If things were done, he would also have more glory. "It's okay, we can bring Sheriff Reed to see you. Chief Reed is a poor man. I don't want to remind him of the original incident again because of my appearance. It's better to let him gradually forget about it. It's not up to me to decide. This extraordinary person has always behaved very gently and calmly, and does not care about Haster's minor dissatisfaction at all. Which of you is in charge of this operation? Since there is no way to escape, Haster can only try to learn the relevant information." An experienced captain from Tingen. Haster was slightly stunned, thinking that the person the other party was talking about was Leonard. Klein Moretti. This extraordinary person still said Klein's name, which showed the sincerity of his trip. Haster's eyes narrowed, and his heart suddenly moved. It would be Klein who was responsible for this matter. "It's really interesting. He and I actually got involved because of this incident." "Is there anything special about Captain Klein?" "Of course. He can be transferred from Tingen to Backland and serve as the captain of this operation. There is no doubt about his professional ability. I know a friend named Leonard, who is also from Tingen. He also participated in our operation this time." Hearing that Leonard was also there, Hasta had no reason to refuse. If there was any accident, the grandfather and Leonard could also fight for a chance. Soon, Haster followed the extraordinary man to the nursing home in a carriage. In the nursing home, Leonard tried to find opportunities to sneak away many times, but Klein stopped him every time. In this regard, Leonard could only sigh silently, hoping that Hasta did not know that Serafina was a witch. When Hasta entered the nursing home and appeared in front of him, Leonard's mouth twitched slightly, but he still had a smile on his face and hurried forward to greet him. "Asta, my friend, I didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't expect it either." Hasta exchanged greetings with Leonard, and he felt relieved when he saw that Hasta did not mention anything about Serafina. "This is our captain, Captain Klein." Leonard briefly introduced Klein to Hasta. Hasta stepped forward, smiled and said, "I have long admired my name, Captain Klein." "Hello, Baron Hasta Campbell." It was a very brief exchange, nothing special or commendable. Destiny seems to have changed. A voice suddenly sounded deep in Leonard's heart, which surprised him. Under normal circumstances, the old man would only communicate with him when there was no one around, and he rarely communicated directly like this. Leonard pretended that nothing had happened, and went to the bathroom alone as an excuse to go to the bathroom. "Old man, what exactly did you find?" "Nothing found." Leonard looked confused and found nothing, so why did he suddenly speak? "It was just a sudden whim, that's all. You can't pry into what's going on." "Haha, I won't take the initiative to do such boring things." "Old man, don't you know how to do it or you can't do it?" Both of them seemed to have the breath of night in them. "How do you know?" "My guess." Leonard left the bathroom with a confused look on his face. On the other side, Klein and others have led Hasta to Sheriff Reed. "Chief Reed, long time no see." Hasta's gentle tone instantly broke the guard of Chief Reed, who was always on guard. He stretched out his hand to feel for Hasta's location, but quickly took it back. His upper and lower lips trembled, and he said excitedly and sentimentally, "Baron Hasta Campbell, I didn't expect that I would see you again." "Yes, this is fate." Hasta was also very emotional. He never thought he would see Chief Reed again, and looking at the vicissitudes of Chief Reed now, he couldn't help but feel a little sad. Sheriff Reed used to be a handsome uncle, but now he suddenly looks 20 years older. His hair is slightly white, and his face shows the wrinkles of time. He looks like an old man in his 50s or 60s. Speaking of which, I also have some responsibility for this matter. If I hadn't gone to spy on the high-dimensional overlooker, the high-dimensional overlooker's temperament might not have been born in Backland. If I hadn't intervened in Sheriff Reed's affairs, perhaps all this would not have happened. Of course, if I hadn't intervened, Sheriff Reed's wife might have died on the operating table. After the excitement, Sheriff Reed said with infinite emotion, "I have been waiting for the Baron to give my newborn child a suitable name. Well, I always remember this. My poor child is not around now." Sheriff Reed's body trembled slightly, and then sighed heavily. "It doesn't matter, no matter where he is, as long as you keep him in your heart, he will always be with you." Asta thought, if the white crystal eyeball floating in the sky hadn't been chopped off by the Lord of Storms, the high-dimensional overlooker might be staring at this place at this moment. "I have always had this thought. They have always told me that my child has died in the turmoil, but I have never believed that he would die like that, and he did respond to my expectations." Hearing this, Asta felt a chill in his heart. Sure enough, the high-dimensional overlooker left Sheriff Reed and his wife because he had some tricks up his sleeve for them, but it was not easy to be discovered. What does he look like now? Asta did not forget the intention of Klein and others to invite him to chat with Sheriff Reed. He has grown up and is a very outstanding young man. He is now on the sea. Their captain treats him very well and listens to him in everything. Sheriff Reed said a lot, but did not talk about the specific appearance and facial features of his child. This made Klein and others who were listening confused. Asta was sure that Sheriff Reed had really seen the current high-dimensional overlooker. Otherwise, he would not have known that the high-dimensional overlooker was now on the sea. Asta had seen the specific appearance of the high-dimensional overlooker, but he did not intend to tell Klein and others. Even if they knew the existence of the high-dimensional overlooker, who could deal with him? Before, he was only in the form of an infant, but now, he has grown into a young man. Hasta guessed that the incarnation of the high-dimensional overlooker might be as powerful as Adam. With such power, even the god of descendants could not deal with him. The more people like Klein knew, the more dangerous it would be. And even Sheriff Reed could not clearly describe the specific appearance of the high-dimensional overlooker, so he had no reason to know. That's great, he already has his own career, Hasta sighed. Yes, he doesn't need us to worry about him, he has grown up and has his own ideas, which makes me feel relieved and guilty at the same time. I can't accompany him when he grows up. Did he say when he would come back to see you? He didn't give me an exact date. I think he will come back when he is tired of playing outside. Sheriff Reed was very sure of this, but these words were pure insanity and talking to himself when heard by Klein and others. In their view, the so-called child had long died, and Sheriff Reed had created a new child in his spiritual world, a child who had grown up and started to venture out. Therefore, Sheriff Reed could not remember the specific appearance of his child, because all of this was fictitious, non-existent, and absolutely not real. Then I'll give him a name when he comes back. Hasta wanted to postpone this matter. Of course, this is his name, he has the right to know, after all, his parents are not dictators who don't care about their children's feelings. Hasta chatted with Sheriff Reed for a while, and Leonard winked at him and asked him to stop for the time being. I'm going to the bathroom. Hasta found a reason to leave, and after walking out of the yard, Leonard and others surrounded him. I've tried my best. We understand, but we still need you to help ask Sheriff Reed if there are any abnormal changes in his eyes. Okay, but I hope this is the last questioning, okay. After getting the promise, Hasta walked back to the yard and came to Sheriff Reed. Do you remember Dr. John? I remember. He helped my wife recover from the critical condition and successfully gave birth to a child. He is also very good at eye-related diseases. I asked him to help you check your eyes and see if he can restore your sight. Sheriff Reed smiled and said, "Thank you for your kindness, but I am used to living like this and don't feel any inconvenience. How can a pair of eyes that can't see the world clearly see their own children?" No, you misunderstood. I can only see my children when I close my eyes. Hasta wasted a lot of words persuading or indirectly asking Sheriff Reed about the problem of eyes, but unfortunately the effect was not great. Sheriff Reed was very satisfied with his blindness. He did not think it was a disease, but a gift from his own child. Hasta's face did not look abnormal, but he was wondering in his heart whether the blindness of Sheriff Reed and his wife was a new extraordinary path sequence. Sequence 9 blind? Last time, he had seen most of the extraordinary paths of the Yellow Monks, so it was normal for a new extraordinary path to appear. He had long suspected that the high-dimensional overlooker might want to preach, and the appearance of a new extraordinary path at this time further confirmed his idea. Could it be that Sheriff Reed and his wife were the popes chosen by the high-dimensional overlooker? Hasta took a deep look at Sheriff Reed, said nothing more, and left with an excuse that he was busy. In order to cooperate and help at any time, he did not say anything definite, but just said that he would come to see him again if he was free. After leaving the courtyard, Klein said, "Thank you for your help." Hasta said with a regretful tone, "It's a pity that I can't help much." Leonard smiled and said, "Hasta, at least you can help us confirm one thing. Sheriff Reed really has mental problems." Hasta thought for a while and said, "Sheriff Reed is my friend. If possible, can someone pay more attention to his daily life?" Klein looked at the director of the nursing home, and he quickly said, "This is the focus of our next work." After chatting for a few more words, Hasta took out a super luxurious pocket watch with a gold base and various gemstones inlaid. This was specially selected before he went out. The main theme is a rich, luxurious, and ostentatious one. Klein's eyes jumped, thinking that this pocket watch must cost at least hundreds of gold pounds, right? The information clearly said that the Campbell family had declined, but they were still so rich. They really deserved to be the Lowen nobles living in Backland. "I'm sorry, I had to go back and rest. I have things to deal with tomorrow." Hasta said goodbye and prepared to leave. Klein glanced at Leonard and said, "Leonard, you will take Baron Campbell back." Leonard's smile froze on his face. Why did he choose him at this time? "I haven't talked to you alone for a long time. This arrangement is just right." Hasta didn't give Leonard a reason to refuse. Since he came to the nursing home, he found that Leonard's eyes were evasive, and he often deliberately avoided his questions. It seems that there is a secret that he is afraid of being discovered. Especially at this time, as the first friend to know him, he should take the initiative to send him home, but he not only did not take the initiative, but also seemed very reluctant. This reminded Asta of the immortal witch Serafina. Could it be that Leonard already knew that the pitiful, simple and kind Miss Serafina he liked was an immortal witch who had lived for thousands of years? Captain Klein, look forward to our next meeting. After leaving the last sentence, Asta boarded the carriage with the reluctant Leonard. In the carriage, Hastur and Leonard sat face to face. While Hastur was still thinking about how to ask about Serafina, Leonard spoke hastily and told Hastur about some daily trivialities he had encountered during this period. Sure enough, there was something going on. Hastur raised his lips slightly and chose to listen silently. There was still some distance from the nursing home to his home, so he wanted to see how long Leonard could talk. When Leonard was a little dry-mouthed, Hastur asked curiously, "How's your relationship with Miss Serafina going recently?" "Just so-so. It shouldn't be. I think Miss Serafina has a good impression of you. I thought you often go out on dates, especially at night." Ha ha ha. Leonard laughed and prepared to reveal this matter. Hastur's smile became more and more intense. He was sure that Leonard definitely knew that Serafina was a witch. Otherwise, with his previous fanatical attitude towards Serafina, even if he didn't mention Serafina, he would take the initiative to share his sweet relationship progress with him. It was obvious that he was frightened by Serafina's true identity, and maybe he had already been psychologically affected. "Haven't you had any in-depth communication recently?" Asta deliberately said this in a teasing tone. Leonard forced a smile on his face and said stiffly, "Serafina is a very good girl, but she is not suitable for me. We are over. This is a relationship full of regrets. I can come forward to organize a dinner for you so that you can talk about it again." No, well, what I mean is that you don't have to be so troublesome. It's better to let things take their course in relationships. Leonard already felt that his back was wet with cold sweat. If he was caught by Serafina again, he would not have the confidence to escape again. Asta, who successfully satisfied his desire to eat melons, tried to suppress his joy and did not stimulate Leonard again. This kind of thing needs to be done slowly. If you say too much at once, Leonard might break the jar and expose the matter, which would be meaningless. Night, nursing home. Klein, Leonard and others decided to rest here tonight to see if Sheriff Reed and others would have any abnormal problems. Through today's observation, the four of them basically believed that Sheriff Reed was mentally ill, so he always thought his child was still alive. According to the information provided by the church, the child had been buried in the storm and could not be alive, let alone grow up to be a young man in a short time and go to the sea for a sailing adventure. But in order to prevent any omissions, Klein finally decided to let Leonard use the extraordinary ability of Nightmare to enter Sheriff Reed's dream to spy. This time you may encounter terrible dangers in your dream. You must be prepared and be careful. Once an unexpected event occurs, you must leave the dream immediately and never take risks by force. Klein emphasized the instructions many times, fearing that Leonard would encounter uncontrollable forces when he entered the dream. Leonard said solemnly, "Well, I will be careful." After making the decision, Klein and his party came to the room next to Sheriff Reed's residence, and confirmed that there was nothing wrong with Sheriff Reed next door before letting Leonard perform the dream-entering technique. When Leonard came to Sheriff Reed's dream with the dream-entering technique, he felt very strange at first sight. Sheriff Reed's dream was not as chaotic and dark as imagined, but very peaceful. The gentle light formed a vast and boundless world of glimmer. The light that came into view was not dazzling, but gave people a very warm and soft feeling. In order to digest the nightmare potion, he had entered other people's dreams many times and turned into a nightmare. The current situation means that Sheriff Reed's mind is very pure, without too many messy thoughts, nor is there depravity and chaos. Is this a dream world that a mental patient should have? This is more like a spiritual world that only a devout believer can have, right? Leonard suppressed his curiosity and continued to move forward to this unknown dream world. He didn't know how long he walked before new changes appeared in this glimmering world. Mirrors, mirrors, spread into pieces, covering the entire sky. Strands of gentle light emanated from these mirrors. As Leonard arrived, Leonard's figure was reflected in the mirrors in the sky at the same time. His every move was repeated in the mirrors. This scene completely shocked Leonard's heart. After the shock, there was an unspeakable fear. The countless mirrors in the sky were like eyeballs, looking down at him from a high place. Being looked at by such eyes, Leonard felt a chill from the bottom of his heart. He felt that he should leave, so as to avoid any accidents. At this moment, Leonard caught a glimpse of a huge mirror at the forefront of the glimmering world. Leonard was like an ant coming to the foot of a mountain. The unreachable huge mirror looked like a crack in time and space. It seemed to lead to another different world. Leonard subconsciously walked over there, but after only a few steps, he hurriedly stopped and left this dream world in a panic. Faintly, there seemed to be the sound of waves hitting the reef coming from behind this huge mirror. Who? Leonard's consciousness returned to his body hunched over, and he kept gasping for air, like a fish that was short of oxygen and was flipped onto the shore, trying desperately to breathe the last breath of oxygen. Klein and the other two who had been guarding around came over in time, gently patting Leonard's back and sending a breeze to Leonard, allowing Leonard to breathe more smoothly. After a long while, Leonard half closed his eyelids and gradually returned to normal. "Are you okay?" Klein tried his best to make his tone less anxious. "Well, fortunately, I'm still alive." Leonard nodded and smiled reluctantly. "What exactly did you experience?" "A world of dim light, countless mirrors, and a mysterious world outside a huge mirror." Leonard first gave a brief introduction, and after recovering a little strength, he slowly began to tell about his experience in Sheriff Reed's dream world. "Fortunately, you didn't venture into the world inside that huge mirror." Listening to Leonard's story, Klein also breathed a sigh of relief. If Leonard didn't leave the dream world in time at that time, but chose to enter the huge mirror to peek into the world behind the mirror, he would definitely not be able to come back safely. "Yes, I'm glad that I was able to withdraw in time instead of going all the way to the end." Leonard also had a fear of surviving a disaster. At that time, he suddenly regained consciousness. It might be that the old man helped him. "By the way, when I left Sheriff Reed's dream, I seemed to really hear the sound of the tide, as if there was an ocean behind the huge mirror." Leonard reviewed his experience just now, and then he remembered this important discovery. The world in the mirror might be an ocean. Sheriff Reed firmly believed that his children were taking risks on the sea. All of this seems to be connected. Perhaps this is not just based on Sheriff Reed's imagination. It may be that Sheriff Reed has this psychological suggestion after being influenced by some force. According to the intelligence they knew so far, the fastest solution was to enter the mirror world in Sheriff Reed's dream and find out the truth. But even a nightmare like Leonard didn't dare to explore it in depth, so they didn't have the ability to do so. Let's report the situation first and see if there are any new instructions from above. Klein made a decision. As a captain, he needed to be able to handle things steadily, rather than risking human lives for the credit that might be in hand. This is a very correct decision. Leonard supported Klein's idea. He had a hunch that if he entered Sheriff Reed's dream again, he would probably enter the mirror world directly and encounter unknown dangers. This is the end of the test for Sheriff Reed. For this, we can first investigate other people's eye abnormalities to see if there is any good solution. After letting Leonard and the other two go to observe other people with eye abnormalities, Klein, who was alone, came to the bathroom. He walked 4 steps backwards and came to the gray fog. He was thinking about how to solve this matter. Whether to directly use divination to spy on what special places are hidden behind this matter. He finally gave up the idea. He didn't want to spy on the eternal blazing sun directly like he did last time. Who knows how terrible that evil god is? Should we do a divination on Baron Hasta Campbell? I always feel that he is not a simple person. Klein thought for a while and decided to give it a try. He wrote down the divination sentence. Baron Hasta Campbell is an extraordinary person. The yellow crystal pendant was motionless, neither affirming nor denying. Instead, it simply did not express anything, solidified and could not move. But this situation is also a divination revelation. Baron Hasta Campbell is definitely a powerful, extraordinary person. And he also has a powerful seal or extraordinary item hidden on him. Only in this way can he completely avoid his divination. Klein thought about it and wrote down the second divination sentence. Baron Hasta Campbell wants to harm Sheriff Reed. The yellow crystal pendant still showed the same situation as last time, motionless, and could not give him an effective divination revelation. As expected of Backlund, I have just arrived and I have met such a mysterious person. It seems that I need to find an opportunity to have an open chat with Leonard to see if I can get more information about Baron Hasta Campbell. Klein did not stay above the gray fog for long. He logged off and walked out of the bathroom. When he met Leonard, Klein gave him a look that told him to confess and tell the truth quickly. In response, Leonard also made an excuse to go to the bathroom and tried to avoid Klein. Late at night, Klein, who was sleeping, suddenly felt that he had come to a world shrouded in darkness. The sky was dim and the heavy darkness seemed to completely cover up everything that could be peeked into. Klein was awakened, and his back was already wet with sweat. This should be a warning from the spirit for what he did today. The meaning was very clear, that is, to tell him not to do divination casually, otherwise it might bring misfortune to his future. Be more careful in the future and don't rely too much on divination, otherwise you may easily spy on dangerous things unconsciously. What Klein didn't realize was that under the thick darkness, there was a brilliant starry sky. That night, Leonard couldn't sleep peacefully. He also had a dream about the sea. On the vast ocean, dozens of ships were sailing on the sea, and the leading ship was particularly different. It was like a blue ghost ship, and its trajectory was like a ghost moving forward, fast and mysterious. On the bow deck of the ghost ship, there was a figure holding a fishing rod, as if fishing for creatures in the sea. Before Leonard could see the figure clearly, the dream shattered and he woke up from his sleep. He was surprised to find that his whole body was wet, as if he was soaked in water. It smelled like a fishy smell from the sea. Leonard was in a trance, his eyes were dull. He felt that he seemed to be in big trouble. I'm out of town recently, so I can only update twice a day. I'll make up for it when I get back. The Hall of Stars. Hastur sat in his seat, watching the high dimension overlooker for a long time. He was on the Blue Revenge at the moment, with Alger by his side ready to serve him at any time. Judging from his recent series of actions, he seemed to really want to conquer the entire ocean for fun. Those pirates who were unlucky enough to encounter the Blue Revenge had no choice but to surrender and join the Blue Revenge, or they could only choose death. In the face of the unstoppable strength of the High Dimension Overlooker, the Blue Revenge was rampant all the way, and the fleet was getting bigger and bigger. Hastur thought it was good that the High Dimension Overlooker wanted to conquer the sea. There was something for him to do, and it saved him from running to Backlund again. What was really worth paying attention to was whether the High Dimension Overlooker would follow Alger's line to enter the Saphira Castle. Now that Alger was being targeted by the High Dimension Overlooker, he might find a way to pray to Mr. Fool and seek his help before next Monday. Once this was done, unless Klein did not react, it would be easy for the High Dimension Overlooker to spy on the existence of Saphira Castle. Hastur thought about it and decided to do nothing. Based on his understanding of Klein's cautiousness has reached a certain level. If he really meets Alger seeking help, he will mainly wait and see, or pretend not to hear. Because now he has no ability to interfere with the things in the distant sea. Hastur looked at the pair of white crystal eyeballs again. The devout believer who was responsible for worshipping it had a calm and peaceful expression, and at this moment covered his eyes with a white cloth. Did his eyes also change? Become a blind man? Blind? Hastur compared what happened to him with Sheriff Reed, and became more and more certain of his previous guess. Blind people are most likely sequence 9 of an extraordinary path of the high-dimensional overlooker. The main direction of advancement of this extraordinary path is the eyes. Just like this pair of white crystal eyeballs. If the high-dimensional overlooker really founded a new religion, what would it be called? Salted Fish Church? Overlooker Church? Or the Song of the Wanderer? Asta always felt that there should be some sequence of wanderers or rangers behind this extraordinary path left by the high-dimensional Overwatcher. This is what he inferred from the performance of the high-dimensional Overwatcher along the way. After observing the high-dimensional Overwatcher, Asta's eyes swept around the stars where the Superstar Master was. Bernadette has arrived in the southern continent for some time, but has not found any traces of the Mother Tree of Desire and the believers of the Superstar Master. No news is the worst news. In the waters of Passu Island, the Blue Revenge led a fleet through the storm abyss. This has always been a forbidden area for pirate fleets because it is the strongest place for the Storm Church. At present, the arrival of the Blue Revenge can be said to be showing off its power at the gate of the Storm Church. On the bow, Alger looked at the sea ahead with a worried look on his face. He is a believer of the storm and knows how powerful the Storm Church is here. This is equivalent to the quiet church of the Night Goddess Church. This young crew member who claimed to be from the Blue Revenge deliberately turned and passed through here after learning that this was the temple of the Church of the Storm. Showing off his power and naked provocation, this is what Alger felt from this young crew member. He didn't seem to like the Church of the Storm very much. As long as he met ordinary people or extraordinary people who believed in the storm along the way, he would force them to become pirates who burned, killed, looted, and committed all kinds of evil. It seemed like he was deliberately going against the Church of the Storm. Now he was passing through the sea area under the jurisdiction of the Church of the Storm in such a swagger. Alger, who originally planned to find an opportunity to seek help from Mr. Fool, now also placed his hopes on the Church of the Storm. He hoped that the archbishops or senior deacons in the church could deal with this evil young crew member and let himself regain his freedom. On the surface, Alger still showed his concern for the future of the Blue Revenge. In the distance, black clouds covered the sea area, and lightning and thunder were raging inside, and at the same time, a huge white wave of hundreds of feet was raised on the sea surface. At the highest point of the wave wall, a figure stood still, with blue hair and blue eyes, and a burly figure, as if the legendary sea god had descended. Faced with this kind of divine majesty, the pirates, whose willpower was not strong to begin with, put down their weapons one after another, and some even knelt down and kowtowed, asking for forgiveness from the gods. Alger was shocked, his eyes were burning, and becoming such a powerful existence was what he pursued when he entered the extraordinary world. He secretly glanced at the young crew member, who did not look at the burly figure standing on the wave wall, but at the sky covered by black clouds. Alger observed that the young crew member did not seem to care about the situation at all, but looked at the battlefield farther away. Perhaps he was angered, or he wanted to baptize sin with a storm, and the burly figure drove the wave wall to press forward. The sea surface was surging, and those ships that did not have time to leave the vicinity were swallowed by the sea. As the wave wall approached, the Blue Revenge where Alger was also began to bump up and down, as if it was about to be disassembled into pieces. After thinking for a while, Alger stepped forward and said in fear, "We are no match for them at all. Let's leave the Storm Church's territory as soon as possible." "Captain, do you want me to win or the Church of Storms to win?" "Of course you win, we are now on the same boat." Alger could only say something against his will. "Captain, you have a good eye." The new crew member smiled, and then asked Alger to start the Blue Revenge with all his strength, heading towards the huge wave wall that was surging. This was a nearly suicidal act. Alger instinctively felt that it was inappropriate, but he did not dare to directly go against the will of the young crew member. Along the way, anyone who dared to disobey had been buried in the belly of the fish. If the situation is not good, I can only abandon the ship and escape. Alger was reluctant to leave the Blue Revenge, but his life safety was the most important thing at the moment. He came to the cabin, drove at full speed, adjusted the course, and the Blue Revenge went upstream against the wave wall. I thought the Blue Revenge would be crushed by the 100-foot wave wall, but I didn't expect that the Blue Revenge would actually go upstream along the wave wall at a vertical angle of nearly 90 degrees. This is unscientific. Alger's eyes widened when he saw this scene, and he felt terrified. The strength of that young crew member was so terrifying that he could do this easily. What was even more amazing was that even though the Blue Revenge was going upstream like this, There was no sense of weightlessness, and the things on the ship did not fall down directly, but remained in place. It was as if the Blue Revenge was sailing on a calm sea instead of a terrible wave that could swallow all ships. As the Blue Revenge climbed to the top of the huge wave, the thunder that had been suppressed in the sky for a long time finally turned into a terrible beast and rushed down one after another. Alger's body began to tremble, and his limbs were weak. In front of this magnificent power, he had an urge to kneel down and kowtow. But when he thought that the Blue Revenge would be torn apart by thunder, a magical scene happened again. The falling thunder suddenly disappeared when it was about to touch the Blue Revenge. It was the power of space. Alger's heart trembled. This time he watched carefully. When the thunderbolts that fell from the sky were about to touch the hull of the Blue Revenge, the space was slightly distorted. However, this kind of distortion was difficult to detect under the cover of the vast lightning. He also saw the slight distortion of space when several thunderbolts brushed against the hull. Distorting space, which extraordinary path is this ability? Alger thought about it and still couldn't make a correct judgment. He sighed and continued to follow the instructions of the young crew member, adjusting the course and moving forward. At this time, the Blue Revenge was already level with the burly figure. He stood in front of the Blue Revenge alone. His burly figure was more like a huge wall at this moment. Anyone who wanted to break through here would have to pay a painful price. Until Alger flew over his head in the Blue Revenge. Alger suddenly woke up and subconsciously looked back. The burly figure standing on the waves was split into countless pieces and then swallowed by the sea. This scene was like eating raw fish on weekdays, with each knife cutting accurately, leaving thin and transparent fish slices. The only thing was that the person tasting it was not him, but the sea that embraced everything. Fear, shock, powerlessness and other emotions surged into Alger's heart. He didn't know which existence in the Church of Storms this burly figure was, but he was sure that this person was definitely a powerful, extraordinary person of sequence 4 or above. But even such an existence could not fight against the young crew member, and did not even have a decent counterattack. This was because there was an insurmountable gap in strength between them. With the death of the burly figure, everything on the sea returned to normal. The Blue Revenge sailed steadily on the sea, passing through the gate of the Church of Storms in a dignified manner, followed by some ships that were lucky enough not to be swallowed by the wave wall. Hasta was in a good mood today. He sat on the balcony on the second floor, drinking fruit-cold drinks, petting his cat, and occasionally admiring the setting sun in the distance. Since she rejected Madame Germani's invitation last time, she has never written to her again, nor has she visited her directly. It seems that her admonition has worked. Another thing worth being happy about is that Sharon and the others have found the extraordinary materials for the assassin's potion formula. He only needs to go to the Brave Bar tonight to trade. Hasta lowered his head slightly and said seriously, "After tonight, you will no longer be an ordinary cat. You can't get involved in the lust of the world. If you are tempted, you will fall into the abyss and suffer unspeakably." Meow? Azishara opened her eyes wide and looked at Hasta in confusion, then raised her head and licked the palm of Hasta's hand. "You will understand later." Meow. Azishara turned over, changed her posture, and curled up in Hasta's arms. Around 8 o'clock in the evening, Hasta brought a certain amount of gold pounds, and also brought the final chapter of The Adventures of Pinocchio that Sharon had been looking forward to. The Brave Bar was still lively, and Hasta's arrival quickly attracted Kaspers's attention. He led Hasta to where Marich was. Tonight, Marich did not stay in the billiard room, but moved to a more secret place. Hasta saw Marich and his zombies, but did not see Sharon, which made him a little disappointed. He was going to bribe Sharon with the final chapter of The Adventures of Pinocchio tonight, build a link, and see if he could sense Sharon's emotional fluctuations. "Are you alone tonight? You seem to not want to see me?" "Of course, I prefer to chat with Miss Sharon." Marich was stunned for a moment, and did not expect Hasta to speak so directly. Hasta found a seat and sat down. He glanced at Marich and said slowly, "Russell once said, smart people always like to chat with smart people, because they don't need to waste time arguing with stupid people." Marge chuckled. Hasta, you are getting more and more annoying now. Alas, sometimes I wonder why I didn't become a hunter. HMPH, you should become a witch first, Marge said, and asked a zombie beside him to hand something to Hasta. It was the extraordinary material that Hasta entrusted them to find. A total of 100 gold pounds, no credit, cash transactions are required. Marge spread out his right hand, signaling Hasta to pay quickly. Didn't we agree that it would only cost 80 gold pounds? Oh, that was before. I'm in a bad mood now. It's not too much to take your 20 gold pounds for hard work, right? Hasta smiled, handed the 100 gold pound note to Marge, and then said, do you want to play cards again? Do you want to win back the 20 gold pounds? I just think my luck is pretty good tonight. Marge naturally didn't refuse. The two agreed to gamble 3 times, 2 wins out of 3 games, and bet 20 gold pounds. Unfortunately, the gamble didn't go to the 3rd game, because Marge quickly lost twice in a row and returned the 20 gold pounds that hadn't been warmed up to Hasta. Rizal has another saying, no one can occupy wealth that doesn't belong to him. Marichi's mouth moved slightly. He wanted to ask, did the great Emperor Rizal really leave such a famous saying? How come Rizal can get involved in any topic, and every time he says something that seems to make sense? By the way, should I also buy a copy of Rizal's life quotes to see? When chatting with others in the future, if you casually throw out a sentence that Russell once said, will it make your words suddenly become more weighty and meaningful? The last time he passed by a bookstore, he glanced at it. Such a book, the complete collection of Russell's life quotes, was not expensive, priced at 3 sols and 6 pence. Hasta ignored Marge's complicated mood. He just habitually attributed the sentence to Russell. Anyway, only he knew whether Russell had said it or not, and he couldn't show up now, let alone refute himself in person. After staying in this room for about half an hour, Sharon came silently. Sharon, if you don't come again, someone will be waiting anxiously, Marge said rather sarcastically. Marge, it seems that you have consciously classified yourself as a fool. Marge didn't want to pay attention to Hasta. When it comes to this kind of ability to talk canon, he is far from being a match for a quick-thinking lawyer. Sharon's face did not show any specific emotions because of Marge's words. She just looked at Hasta and asked him to tell her if he had anything to say. I have been working day and night, and it took a lot of energy to finish the ending of the story. Give it to me. What a ruthless tone. Shouldn't you care about my health first? Hasta sighed and handed Sharon the final chapter of The Adventures of Pinocchio. What story? Marge came over curiously, and Sharon disappeared. I don't know where I ran to the mirror and started to read the story of the final chapter of The Adventures of Pinocchio. Without a rule prohibiting invisibility, Hasta would not be able to find Sharon's hiding place, even if they were in the same room. But after 3 or 5 minutes, Hasta could vaguely sense Sharon's breath. Following the vague sense, he looked into a small mirrored 2 meters in front of the right. Was this bribe successful? Hasta was a little uncertain. This connection was too weak to basically sense Sharon's emotional fluctuations. He closed his eyes and carefully sensed for a while before he could barely glimpse 1 or 2 points of Sharon's emotional fluctuations. Happy, excited, sometimes a little annoyed. It seems that she is not very satisfied with the ending of the story, and then a little relieved, confused, and then angry. Then, this weak connection was cut off, and Sharon also came out of the mirror, sitting opposite him, looking at him calmly. Is she angry? She should be angry. Hasta glanced at Sharon with his peripheral vision. Although Sharon looked calm on the surface, as usual, the last emotion he sensed was anger. Tisk, you are obviously angry, but you still pretend to be calm, so you are this kind of Sharon. Before Hasta could be happy for too long, Sharon looked over. This time, there was no need to establish a bribery connection. Hasta could clearly feel the chill in Sharon's eyes. It's getting late. I should go back. See you another day when I'm free. Hasta wisely chose to leave. Sharon did not stop him. Marge felt a little pity. He had originally wanted to have a drink with Hasta. As soon as Hasta returned to the hall of his home, Azishara ran down the stairs from the 2nd floor, and the maid behind was chasing it. Azishara, you haven't rested yet. Well, sleep later today. Hasta squatted down, smiled and picked up Azishara from the ground, and then went up to the second floor. He asked the maids and others who were not related to the second floor to leave the second floor first, and then came to the room where various potion materials were placed. Here are some materials for the recipes of the Black Emperor's potion, most of which are ordinary materials that can be bought on the market. As for the expensive and too rare extraordinary materials, Hasta prepared another place to put them. Hasta asked Azishara to stay where she was as much as possible, and he took out the extraordinary materials traded tonight and started to mix them with other ordinary materials. During the mixing process, Hasta looked at Azishara many times. The things here can't be eaten casually, and Azishara is sometimes quite greedy. Fortunately, Azishara tonight seems to be only interested in the potion that Hasta is mixing. At first, it stayed where it was, but as the assassin potion was mixed, it couldn't hold back its curiosity, and walked to Hasta's feet with elegant steps, tilted its head, and stared at the vessel containing the assassin potion with a pair of dark blue eyes. Perhaps it smelled something edible, it seemed a little impatient, but in the end it still lay down at Hasta's feet honestly, but its eyes kept staring at the assassin potion. It should be almost done. Hasta finished mixing the assassin potion and carefully recalled the operation just now. After confirming that there was no omission or mistake, he breathed a sigh of relief. He held the glass container with a round bottom like a bowl containing the assassin potion, squatted down, and gently stroked Azishara's little head with one hand. I want to remind you again, after drinking this bowl of assassin potion, you will no longer be an ordinary cat. You can't be tainted by the lust of the world. If you are tempted, the witch's curse of dying in love will be fulfilled on you, and you will be in great pain. Hasta's expression was serious and his tone was serious. Even Azishara seemed to be infected by this atmosphere and meowed softly. Before drinking this bowl of assassin potion, do you have anything else to say? Meow? Azishara raised her head and her little claws began to scratch Hasta's arm holding the assassin potion. Hasta rubbed Azishara's head a few times, sighed and said, "Okay, since you have made a decision, I will not stop you anymore. You need to make your own way in the future." After that, Hasta placed the assassin potion in front of Azishara, indicating that it was ready to drink. Azishara's nose moved slightly, first sniffed, then observed for a while, and then slowly tasted tonight's midnight snack. "Azishara, you are particularly lucky tonight." Hasta blessed, and then stared at Azishara's reaction. Azishara could only get through this level by herself, and he could only choose to watch. According to his observation of Azishara during this period, its intelligence is not low, and it is not difficult for it to adapt to the assassin potion. But caring too much will lead to confusion, and this sentence also applies to him. After all, as long as it is not a 100% thing, accidents may occur. For about 10 minutes, Hasta has been waiting for Azishara's reaction, but it didn't react at all. It waggled its little tail, snuggled up to his feet, and meowed softly, as if calling him to hug him quickly. Hasta stretched out his hand to caress Azishara's head, and then took a serious look at its eyes. There was indeed nothing special about it. Could it be that he drank a fake magic potion? Hasta glanced at the glassware on the ground that had been licked dry. Meow. Seeing that Hasta didn't pay much attention to her, Azishara jumped into Hasta's arms, curled up into a small ball, closed her eyelids and fell asleep. Maybe it just doesn't know how to express its feelings at the moment. It could also be that the assassin's potion is naturally suited to it, allowing it to quickly adapt to this feeling. Susie didn't seem to have any special reaction when she accidentally swallowed the audience potion. It was several days later that Audrey discovered something was wrong with it. Hasta thought a lot, looked down at Azishara who was curled up in his arms, tidied up the things in the room, and then opened the door and went out. The next day, after Hasta woke up, he immediately went to check on Azishara's condition. "I saw it squatting by the window, its pair of blue eyes staring at the pedestrians passing below, licking its little paws from time to time. Was this the birth of a strong desire to hunt?" Hasta did not interrupt, but chose to observe quietly. At this moment, Azishara seems to have a little more soul than before. He felt that this was his illusion, giving Azishara too much imagination at this moment. Digesting potions is a long process. Azishara is just a simple kitten. It does not have the complex and summarizing wisdom of humans. It mostly relies on its own nature. Meow. Azishara, who was squatting by the window, found that Hasta had woken up, took 2 small steps with graceful steps, and then jumped directly over. This distance is about 2 meters. Although Azishara should be able to do it in normal times, it would not be as easy as now. This should be the physical transformation given to it by the assassin's potion, making its limbs more powerful and dexterous. Are you hungry? Meow. Hasta understood this call. It was really hungry. He got up with Azishara in his arms, walked out of the room, handed it to the maid responsible for taking care of it, and went to the bathroom to wash up. After finishing his work, Hasta carried Azishara, who was already full, downstairs. After dinner, Hasta asked housekeeper Neil if there were any mice in the house. Butler Neil was embarrassed and said that there had been traces of rats in the kitchen recently. Although he had ordered the servants to take corresponding rodent control actions, rats still appeared occasionally. This is not a problem that their family can solve, it is a problem for Backland as a whole. Although the sewer pipes have solved Backland's problem of water accumulation on rainy days, they have also become a natural home suitable for rats to inhabit and breed. Therefore, a special profession was born, that of rat catcher. They were commissioned to capture rats at their employer's house. Occasionally, officials will organize personnel to inspect and clean sewer pipes and other places where dirt and evil are hiding. It is said that this is one of the measures actively promoted by Emperor Russell, saying that this can effectively reduce the occurrence of plague. The plague has become a common understanding among many people. In response, Hasta said that Azishara could try it. Butler Neil quickly refused, saying that the rats that emerged from the sewers were too dirty. Azishara ate cat food specially provided by humans every day. If she accidentally ate rats, serious problems might occur. Hasta thought the same thing. Someone must have put a lot of rat poison around here. If the poisonous rats were accidentally eaten by Azishara, it would be very dangerous. It would be better to wait a few more days until Azishara learns not to eat rats and only concentrates on hunting. Before leaving, Hasta left Azishara at home and asked the maid to take care of it, before taking a carriage to Grey Lint's house. Because Grey Lint was a beast tamer, Hasta didn't want Azishara to run into him at this moment to avoid a stress reaction. When they arrived at Grey Lint's house, Grey Lint happily took Hasta to the back garden, saying that he wanted to show him the results of his recent training. The beagle, under the command of Grey Lint, performed very well in how to pounce on prey and find traces of prey. The only pity is that this place is not in a forest after all, so the training effect will be greatly reduced. Grey Lint said that he needed to go to the forest for training in order to further train the beagle. This is a very good suggestion. Let's go to the suburbs this Saturday, Hasta proposed. No problem, my hog has been looking forward to this day for a long time. Haug is the name of the golden retriever dog raised by Grey Lint. What do you think about inviting Miss Audrey? Of course. It's just time for my hog to compete with Susie to see who is smarter. Grey Linte touched the head of the golden retriever Haug, looking very confident. Hasta glanced at him with a look of imperceptible pity. If I remember correctly, Susie should already be a Sequence 8 mind reader, right? This golden retriever trained by Grey Lint would definitely not be Susie's opponent if compared to him. Thinking of this, Asta smiled and told Grey Lint to try to do some fancy things, such as walking upright with a plate in his mouth, walking on wheels, jumping over a ring of fire, etc. He was looking forward to how Susie would fight at that time. Before leaving Grey Lint's house, Asta had agreed with Grey Lint that he would be responsible for inviting Audrey. This time, Asta planned to invite Earl Hall as well. Since the last time he went to Earl Hall's house for a meeting, he has never contacted Earl Hall and Audrey again. This time is a good opportunity. If he can take this opportunity to bribe Earl Hall, then his briber potion will be almost digested. The briber sequence does not have many secrets for Asta, and it is relatively easy to play. As for the promotion to Sequence 6 Corrupted Baron, there is already a clue. He just needs to wait for Earl Gill to die and then go to fight with the Steam Church. Calculating the time, it is almost time. At night, Asta's invitation was delivered to Earl Hall's house. The invitation specifically mentioned Audrey. Although Earl Hall knew about this, he did not stop it. Inside the room, Audrey read the invitation and then looked at Susie, who was lying in the corner. "Susie, Mr. Asta invited us to visit the manor in the suburbs, and you are also invited," Susie said without raising her head. "I am not happy about this. On the contrary, I have always been a little afraid of Mr. Asta." "Why? Mr. Asta is a very good person. I didn't say there was anything wrong with him. I just thought he was very dangerous." Audrey thought for a while and said, "Compared with Mr. Asta and Glint, who is more dangerous?" "Glint." After Audrey's teaching, Susie now remembers a lot of people. Grellant is also invited to this trip to the suburban manor. He also said that he wants to train a golden retriever that is smarter than you. "Audrey, can I refuse?" "No." Audrey's mouth curved up. The invitation mentioned that the golden retriever hog trained by Grellant had many outstanding little skills, just like the performance of an acrobatic troupe. It was just the right opportunity to take Susie's attention away from the book for a short time so that she would not learn too much knowledge. After chatting with Susie for a few words, Audrey got up and walked out of the room to the room where Earl Hall was. The invitation did invite her to play in the suburban manor, but it also mentioned the invitation of Earl Hall. In Audrey's opinion, this was the last time Mr. Asta was frightened by the respected Earl Hall, so he chose to communicate with Earl Hall through her. When Audrey explained her purpose, Earl Hall was quite surprised and said, "He wants to invite me to hunt in the suburban forest." Yes, Baron Campbell also said that he has recently trained a good hound. Although it is still relatively young, it is already a good hunter. "I may not have time this Saturday. Then I will help the busy Earl Hall to reject Baron Campbell's invitation." "Forget it, I haven't gone out hunting for a long time. Some things can be done next week." Audrey blinked and smiled. "Are you worried about your lovely daughter being alone in the suburbs?" "I do have this concern, even though you have grown up." "Then I'll trouble the respected Earl Hall to keep busy and worry." Finally, Audrey left with a smile. On the way back to the room, she met Hibbert. After asking, when she learned that she was not invited on the invitation, Hibbert immediately said that he and Greg were going to visit the suburban manor this Saturday. Such a temporary reason could not be hidden from an audience at all. But Audrey did not expose him. She returned to her room and started writing a reply. This was the first time she wrote a serious reply to Mr. Asta, so she needed to think carefully.